That moment in particular, I still wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, oh yeah, it did happen.
The only time I wanted to see Gazza, when the whistle blew at the start of the game and at the end. After that, I don't want to see you really, you know what I mean?
Firstly, I'd get rid of VAR instantly.
The squad is as strong as it's been for a while, isn't it?
I really believe we have a chance.
Hello everyone, I'm Aidan Magee and welcome back to The Green Room, brought to you by MAMEDICA. This is the podcast where we sit down with people from the worlds of football, film, music and beyond to get the inside story on their careers. Today's guests really need no introduction. Between them, they captained both club and country, represented England at the very highest level and established themselves as two of the finest defenders this country has ever seen. Welcome to you both, John and Stuart. I want to talk to you about leadership, first of all, if I may. You're both captains early on in your clubs and obviously went on to captain your country as well. Was leadership, was it something that came naturally to you?
I personally think you sort of grow into it a little bit, you know. Probably you're quite proficient as kids when you're in school teams and that type of thing, Sunday teams and district teams. So you're one of the more proficient ones, often one of the more professional ones maybe as well. And you sort of just grow into it slightly as time goes by. And you can't underestimate the role models that probably myself and John have had. You know, you walk into dressing rooms as young kids and then you look around you and say, which ones are the good role models that are leaving an impression on yourself that you want to emulate?
Yeah, I would agree. I think growing up, it's something that kind of managers identify in you. It's not something you really think about, or I certainly didn't from a young age. So you get identified as a captain, then you get given the armband and stuff. And as Stuart said as well, you grow into it. And I was very lucky at Chelsea. I had the likes of Dennis Wise, who was my captain. And just seeing him in the dressing room and little bits being around it all was really key for me. Just little bits of learning and stuff. And Kevin Hitchcock, older players in the group. And actually, when I first come in the team at Chelsea, these guys were on the way out. And Dennis Wise, Graham Lasso, when I spoke to Ranieri and said JT is looking like he's going to be here for a long time and looks like a leader, let's give him the armband now while we're still in the building and we can educate and, you know, help him along that journey as well. And it was a really good learning curve for me that year, having kind of the foreign guys as well, having Dennis there as my kind of mentor as well. So just really good learning curves for me. And
that was my next question, actually. Who were the ones you looked up to? John's already answered that one. What do you think, Stuart? Who was it for you?
Well, in those days, you always looked to your manager. That was really important. When I first got in my non-league team, Wildstone, a fella called John Watson, he was at West Ham as a youngster and he played for England non-league team. I always used to really look up to him. His incredible personality within the dressing room and on the pitch. He was one. Remember going... I was fortunate when I turned pro. I walked into a dressing room at Coventry that had the likes of Kenny Hibbett and Bob Latchford and people of that ilk in there.
Sam Allardyce there, around there?
Big Sam was in the team at the time. So some really, you know, I've come from working on the tools as an electrician into a dressing room where there's people with thousands of games. So you look up to them and you pick... certain things from certain individuals that probably tie in with your personality a little bit, you know. Remember Roy Keane walked into the Forest dressing room having signed from Ireland and he looked at me and thought, I want to be a little bit like Pearcey, ultra professional, and I want to be a little bit like Des Walker, likes a night out and one or two, you know.
Thursday nights, wasn't it?
Yeah, Thursday was always Des's night. So he used to look at both of us and say, well, I'll take a bit from him and a bit from him and off you go on your journey.
And it must have been, obviously, Brian Clough who gave you the captaincy at Forest. What was that conversation like, if you can remember that far back?
Yeah, I can remember it. When I first got to Forest, we had some experience in the dressing room, but a lot of those were leaving. John Robertson had come back, and after a year, he'd left the club, and Ian Bowyer was the captain.
He was the captain for years, wasn't he?
Incredible captain, yeah, and someone you look up to. Cloughie didn't have to sort of, in many ways, turn around and tell you what you had to do. Ian Bowyer got there first and said, we don't do that at this club and that type of thing. So he was a great schoolmaster in those days. And he left after a year and we were off pre-season tour to Sweden, I think. And one of the coaches walked down and said, the manager wants to know whether you'll be the captain.
What age are you here?
Well, because I come into the game late, I think I was 24 at the time. And for me, for Brian Clough to ask you to be captain, I mean, it's been a massive honour for both of us to be captains of whatever teams, you know. But Brian Clough to ask me in a very young group as well, you know, was fantastic.
And I think you were just 20 when you got the captaincy at Chelsea. It all sounds easy and glib when you talk about it now, but how do you command that respect when you walk into a dressing room with the kind of personalities you mentioned?
I think as well, for me, coming through the ranks at Chelsea, I was often kind of in the youth team, reserve team. Then you get called over to train with the first team. And I remember Vialli, Jimmy Floyd being in the group, and I'd often be kind of marking them in training. And for me, I showed the utmost respect off the pitch. But on the pitch, I just had that kind of, you know, no holds barred mentality and, you know, going into tackles. You know, Luca was player manager at the time, a little bit earlier as well. And I just remember a couple of times going through the back of him, and Wisey said to me, I wouldn't do that. And Luca just got up and shook my hand, and he was like, you make sure you do that every single day. That's what we want. That's what we need. And it was like that, just that mentality for me when we're on the pitch or leaving, and I just give it everything. So that was the early part for me. I was the same as you. I was 24 when Mourinho first gave it to me. We was on a pre-season tour in LA, and we were just about to play Celtic. So about 10 minutes before we go out, he said in front of the group, he was like, JT, you're captain, and I want you to give the boys a speech before. And it was like, okay, I was in my element. It was like the boys were pumped before the game. And I just I still remember it today, you give a speech, and it was quite powerful. And you could feel something special was happening with Mourinho coming in. And like Stu said as well, I was honoured that he'd kind of identified me. We had a lot of big characters in that group at the time. And he'd identified me and Lamps to be the captain and vice-captain to kind of run the dressing room behind, which was part of your role as well, wasn't it?
Is that when you laid out the rules on that pre-season tour? Was it the rules to the players, the squad?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Can I ask you about, I remember George Graham talking about Tony Adams at Arsenal, young captain like yourself, John, at Chelsea. He said he'd say his bit in the dressing room and then he'd give over to Tony Adams to have a 2 or 3 minute chat with the players before the game. Is that normal? Is that how you experienced it yourself, you two?
I think it depends who you're working for in some ways, you know. With Graham Taylor with England, there was a little bit of that. With Brian Clough was the manager. I was captained by the fella who went out there, looked after the dressing room, but you kept your mouth shut when the gaffer was in attendance. You know, he wanted total silence in the dressing room beforehand. So it depends who your manager is. You pick a lead up as a captain off the manager of the club and try to supplement what he's trying to do. I remember when I think, just starting my coaching journey, and I remember saying, you know, I was talking to someone about John's captaincy, you know, and the thing that impressed me a lot was players would go out on loan and he would keep in contact with them. And that's something I look back and think, I missed a trick there. I don't think I'd done enough as a captain to help maybe foreign players come into our team. You're so hell-bent on being the best player you can. That was sort of lost on me a little bit. And then I heard a rumour, you know, John looks after, he rings around, players are out on loan, he's a contact point for those players, that type of thing. And I thought, it frustrated me that I'd missed that something that you were delivering. I don't know whether that's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I used to stay in contact with the boys, whether they were younger or kind of part of the first team group as well. I remember I was on loan at Forest at the time, and Vialli used to say to me, come back and train whenever you want. And I used to go back and still feel part of the group. And Luca and Wisey would message me and going, we're in on Wednesday, which was a day off for Forest at the time. So I kind of drive back, train with Chelsea on Wednesday, drive back up, train with Forest again. And, you know.
So when was your day off?
I didn't get any days off, but a lot of boys kind of my age probably would have taken a day off. And I think you touched on it earlier, the professionalism getting us to those points of going, yeah, that's what I want from my captain, of being wholehearted, give it absolutely everything. And I think we've both done that from our careers as well to get to the levels we got to. Yeah. We was at it every single day. And, you know, I remember watching him, Tony Adams growing up, idolising you and Tony Adams, and me looking as a young boy going, that's exactly what I want to be. Give absolutely everything for club and country. And it's, you know, those bits were ingrained in me from a young age. But I just, again, we spoke about learning on your captaincy. Those kind of bits was really important to me because I've been a young player coming through the ranks at Chelsea and I've been out on loan. I still felt wanted from the football club. I really wanted to make it important for the young English players or the foreign players that, no, you're on loan to get better and get more experience, but we want you back here. I wanted the best players back at our football club. I didn't want them to get comfortable and then be sold on and stuff like that. So just tried to keep in touch as much as I could.
I want to talk about injuries because you both had long and successful careers, but there will have been periods where you were out. How did you deal with those times? Because we hear lots of different stories about, some players suffer bigger injuries than others, but they also take a long time getting back. There's being isolated at the training ground, in the gym. How do you manage that whole process? Because it sounds quite difficult.
It's not easy. You've got to get your head around it. I mean, when I look back over my career, maybe 24 years as a footballer, including non-league football, well, I've probably missed 2.5 years of football in that period of time. And I think most of us that have played for a period when you add all those injuries up, whether it be broken bones or muscular injuries, you do miss a significant amount of time.
How many years in total, did you say?
2.5, I think.
2.5 out of how many years?
24.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably taken that at the start of your career, though, right? 2.5 years, would you have said?
No, I wouldn't.
No?
Someone said to me, you're going to miss...
hesitation said it all.
I only see 2.5 years. I'm thinking there's a lot of games there that I could have played in, and
Another
a lot
goal.
of performances and
Another
a lot
goal.
more, and one more, at least one more goal. I'm not sure I would have taken that, to be honest with you. And I got really lucky. Let me tell you this story. I was at West Ham United and broke my shin bone in a game, and then recovered for 5 months, and it was the February, and I was about to turn 38 years old, and I re-broke my shin bone again in the February. My contract was due to finish in the summer, so I thought I've got no recovery time before my contract finishes, and went home at the weekend, sat at home, and I thought, well, where's life after football now? I thought, well, I'll just pack in at the end of the season. And Harry Redknapp rang me on Monday morning and said to me, get yourself right, I'll get you a new contract in the summer. And it was so powerful. It was incredible. So literally from that moment onwards, I started my recovery. I knew it'd take about 5 months. Got myself right, signed a new contract in the summer, played against Chelsea, first game of the season for West Ham, won Player of the Year, and then went Man City and won the Championship. But I always look back and think that one phone call give me the inspiration when I was at a low ebb to actually go again, so it's really powerful.
And managing pain as well, you've spoken about that in the past, I think. How did you get through it? Because I hear lots of players talk about how they went on the pitch many times and played through the barrier, basically.
Quite easily for me, and very much the same as you, Stu. I was like, I've got a really short career. You're looking at 15, 20 years max. And I'm going, I can't afford to be injured for a week. We was at a football club at Chelsea of going, we've got an owner that will bring in bigger and better players if you're not at it. If you miss, 6, 7 months of the season, someone else will come in and opportunity. And I remember a key moment when Mourinho first come in. I'd done my ankle ligaments in a game and I was going to be out for 3 weeks. He come in the treatment room in the morning, went around the whole group, high-fiving everyone, and got to me and just walked past me and walked out the room. It gives me... makes me go funny now. And I said to the physio, give me an injection. And I know we shouldn't promote it, but throughout my career, and I'm sure you did as well, you have little injections and stuff like that. I had an injection in my ankle for training for the next 6 weeks, which probably wasn't the best thing. But when I walked out to training, the look on Mourinho's face, he put his arm around me and said, that's why you're my captain. And I was in pain, I was in agony. And there was times after games, I needed a day off. I needed to not go outside and train, and he was like, "Stay inside today. Make sure you're ready make sure you're ready for Saturday." He really appreciated what I'd done, but I hated the feeling of him high-fiving everyone and going around the room. It was a really powerful message, but it was meant for me.
Yeah,
out of the whole group, and even as he left the room, the players were like, "Oh, what was that about?" And I just went out and trained and stuff. So I didn't have too many long-term injuries throughout my career, but when I did, I really tried to. Just the way I am mentality-wise, I always said to the physio, what's the quickest anyone's ever come back from this? And the Champions League quarter-final, the year we won it, I had to have a bit of bone removed. And I think it was 2 weeks before someone had come back. 7 days later, I played in the return leg against Napoli and scored. Ended up missing the final, obviously, through suspension and stuff the year we won it. But it's those moments where you don't get back, Stu. You don't get those games back. And I look back and go, I could have had maybe 730 games rather than 717 at Chelsea. And that's, I think, the way my mentality is, and I'm sure yours is the same as well. It's the ones you miss out on.
I think there's a fear factor as well. You know, John's fear factor was I might lose my place here. I'm playing for Chelsea. You know, where do you go from Chelsea? This is high achievers. Same with me. When I come into the game, you're playing to pay the mortgage. I know times have changed a little bit now, but you didn't want to miss a game. The proviso with the dressing room was, can I play every game this season?
Yeah.
You know, it was an insult to yourself not to miss a game. You wanted to play every game.
So we talked about pain, managing injuries. This podcast, of course, is brought to us by MAMEDICA. Would you recommend medical cannabis for recovering from injuries?
Absolutely. I've actually suffered in my career sciatica down my right side. I had a back operation back in 2006. I've had sciatica for the last 20 years and nothing's got rid of the pain. It definitely soothes and makes it so much better for me. So, you know, I can only recommend it from my side. I think you've got to try everything. And we speak about play. How quickly can you get back? Ex-players now were able to dip into this and kind of, you know, we've all got aches and pains and stuff from our playing days. So it's really helped me in the last 3 or 4 years, I have to say. I think also for our soldiers as well, there's lots of ex-soldiers that are, you know, that have served in our military as well, that it has a big part to play, and also offer them a little bit of freedom in their pain that they're suffering, both mentally and through their bodies as well. So I think it's a fantastic thing.
I want to talk to you about the World Cup experiences of both of you. I want to take you back to 1990. You'll have watched it on TV like I did. Stuart, what was the experience like there? Because it was a ligament injury, a knee ligament injury that kept you out of Euro 88.
Yeah.
So you must have felt some proper motivation going into Italia 90. And you're based in Sardinia, down on an island, of course.
Yeah, we were. There was a real fear factor about crowd trouble and that type of thing at the time. So they put us on Sardinia, which was brilliant. I'd never been to a major tournament before at any age group because when you're an electrician, you tend not to be taken to major tournaments, strangely enough. So we ended up going there. So it was all new territory for me. I didn't have a clue what it would be like. And all of a sudden we're at a World Cup and you think, wow, the nerves of it and everything that went with it. I was fortunate that I remember after the first game, we played the Republic of Ireland it was an affront to football, to be fair. You had two sets of teams kicking the lumps out of each other. It was an awful game, a 0-0 draw. 1-1. And I come in the dressing room afterwards and Bobby Robson come up to me and said, "You've got to do better than that. You look nervous." I said, "Yeah, I feel a bit nervous."
Was he speaking about the team or you particularly? Right.
And he said, "I've give you 20 caps not to be nervous today." You know what I mean? But your first game at a World Cup, you know, you are filled with those nerves and whatever. But it was an incredible tournament to be involved in. There was a few of us that had never played in a tournament. You know, Gazza was with us, Platty, Des Walker, and a few of them, those three especially, made their name at that World Cup. You know, incredible, really. And all three of them got moves to Italy on the back of probably their performances there. But it was incredible. Obviously, we were captained at the time by Brian Robson, someone who you talk about captaincy, to look at him when I got in the England squad, you know, and Terry Butcher's there and the likes, and Schultz had been around an eternity. But some tournament, it was incredible. And when I look back now, it was probably the forerunner to the Premier League, even though that come a couple of years later.
The game was changing, wasn't it?
The game, big time it was. All of a sudden there was crowd trouble, there was Heysel, there was Hillsborough, there was so many bad moments in football, and all of a sudden this tournament happened and people that weren't die-hard football fans and blokes, let's say, it appealed to a bigger clientele almost, you know, and people got behind. A lot of it was down to Gazza and Gary Lineker and people of that ilk, but it changed.
What were your memories watching it from home? Did you cry like I did?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Makes three of us.
Have you actually seen the documentary? Because you guys had cameras there, didn't you? Have you ever watched it before?
No, there was a bloke who wrote a book on it, wasn't there? Pete Davis, all played out. It was like the seminal literature on the game. But that's what I meant. You didn't used to get books written about football all the time.
There's a documentary. It's got all the behind-the-scenes stuff when I think someone gets pushed in the pool around the hotel and stuff. And there's little bits of like behind-the-scenes stuff which is just really good. But I remember kind of growing up watching that and, you know, seeing Gazza and you with your shorts up here. But you remember those bits. That was iconic for us, wasn't it, growing up? And, you know, what wanted me to go and play for my country. That's looking up at these guys and kind of idolising them.
Yeah, I remember my mum watching it while she was doing the ironing. She had no interest in football whatsoever. Was that the same for you? I mean, was it like with family involved? People, was your family of football people?
My dad played. My mum wasn't into football, but she had no choice. Yeah. But even at the time, you say things change. I remember sitting there with my mum watching football, which was unheard of. Yeah. You know, but the World Cup does that. The World Cup's really special, and it gets, especially now as well in today's football as well. You know, you got kids and girls playing football and women watching football. It's so good for the industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you feel that the tournament was changing football, and what was the camp like itself? Because I mean, to question to both of you really, because it can be a long time. You can go stir crazy, can't you, over 6-7 weeks?
I love travelling. I've always loved travelling. It was one of life's joys. Someone took me from being an electrician to turn up with Cloughie. We used to go away 4 times a year at least. I remember we went to Saudi Arabia to play them and fly back the next day. The club had been to Iraq to play a game. Steve Hodge showed me his Saddam Hussein keyring, you know what I mean, that he got when he was there. It was one of life's joys, you know what I mean, that someone was paying me to go abroad. So every tournament I've ever been to as a coach, as a player, whatever it may be, I've absolutely loved it because it ticked both boxes. I'm a footballer, and I'm travelling as well, so it was fantastic. And I really enjoyed it, to be fair, being away. I never get bored. I get in a nice little routine of whatever I'm doing. And the tournament just grew, really, from a nervous group stage scenario to getting to a semi-final. England had never been that far. England had never been in a penalty shootout. So we ticked a few boxes maybe at that tournament. And the likes of Gazza keeps you amused on a daily basis.
What was that like?
You can imagine. Oh, brilliant.
Did you room with him?
No chance. John, not a chance. Chris Waddle had that. I mean, Gazza can't sleep with the light off. He gets scared. So the light had
his
to be
pillows
on.
a certain way, doesn't he? Is that right?
Oh, he's a crackerjack if he sleeps at all. So the only time I wanted to see Gazza was when the whistle blew at the start of the game. And at the end, after that, I don't want to see you really, you know what I mean? I don't. But he was brilliant at sort of keeping the boys amused, and every day Gazza would do something stupid, you know what I mean? But so good to have around the place, and the way Bobby Robson dealt with him was just brilliant, like a father figure that would tell him off, but you knew he would sort of turn away from us. And Terry Venables dealt with him brilliantly as well. He would tell Gazza off and then look away and just wink at the rest of us, you know. And just must say, it's all right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was camp like for you, John? Because Baden-Baden looked fun.
For the girls, it was, yeah. I really enjoyed being away. Again, it's what you work for. You work to qualify, you know, your whole career to maximise your for your club and then for your country, to be away representing your country. You feel it, you see it, you've got your TV on, you see the support that we get. I mean, the support England get around the world is incredible anyway. You certainly feel that and enjoy that side of it as well. So probably more disappointed that we didn't go further with the group that we had. Probably
was that the one for you, 2006? That was when
2006 was the one, yeah, when Wayne gets sent off. And I thought we had a really good opportunity there. We obviously, if we'd have won that, I think we'd have played Brazil after that. And actually, they wasn't the Brazil of...
They got beat by France in the quarters.
Yeah, I think they did, yeah. But I look back at a couple of bits more disappointed than anything because I thought we could have done better. But no, I enjoyed the time away, enjoyed the kind of 3 or 4 days break in between the game as well. You kind of itching, ready to get ready for that next game. It was more the camps kind of back in England when you're away for 2 weeks in the hotels and stuff that are a little bit mundane, a little bit boring. And, you know, I often say this, that if I'm at Chelsea and I'm playing Saturday to Saturday, no one needs to tell me on Thursday I'm not waking up in the middle of the night, putting my kids back to sleep, and I'm in game mode from Thursday, getting ready. I'm to bed early and all of that. And when I went away with England, it felt like we were train, lunch, back in your room at 12 o'clock, come back down for dinner at 7. Like we were grown men. It felt like we couldn't even go down to the bar. I remember being...
Was that 2010 you're talking about here?
Yeah, this was a little bit later on, and just even asking at the Grove Hotel, can we go down the bar for a coffee? Oh, we can't be seen because if the press see us at the bar, we're having a coffee. You know, you can't be seen out of the hotel. Can we go into the local town? No, you can't go to the town. You can't go cinema if you get seen out. It's like when I'm at Chelsea, I'll get seen out because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm good. Thursday, I'm in my game mode and I'm right. It's on now.
So you're saying you're more relaxed around going out? You're happy to be seen out and about?
100%. I think
You've got to live your life, haven't you?
Well, when you're in your room as well, again, you kind of got an England game in 10 days' time. You're sitting there watching all the reports, big pressure on the game. Like, you just want to get away from all of that. You want to go and play golf and switch off from all of it. And like I say, 2 days before a game, you don't need to tell top players to be professional and get focused. They do it naturally, and that's why they're playing for England anyway, because they can deal with that side of it and know when to switch on and switch off. So I think with England, we missed the trick. I think Gareth Southgate deserves a lot of credit for what he's done, bringing that group together and making it more relaxed and a little bit more enjoyable.
I've got to say, sometimes you've got to use your experience as a player when you go into management. I've been fortunate enough. I took the under-21s to 4 tournaments, the Olympic squad to a tournament in the summer. And I always used to sit back and say, what would I want as a player? Now, what I wouldn't want is to go probably what we did in 2010 when I was on the coaching staff and go to Austria in the pouring rain and run and train every day from a fitness aspect. Because at the end of the season, players don't need fitness. They really don't. They need to tick over. They need sunshine on their back and they need to relax a little bit, ready to go to step up again to get into the pressure cooker of tournament football. And that's what we used to do with the 21s. We used to go to Spain. We used to train in the morning. Players could do whatever they wanted during the day, go for a coffee, walk down to town, go and have a round of golf. It don't matter. I needed to relax them over that week or so, ready for when we arrive in Denmark or Holland or wherever the tournament is, and be nice and relaxed to play football.
Yeah.
But Fabio Capello, if he was here now, he'd show you his resume, his CV, and said, that's the way I've always done it.
That's club football.
Yes, but was he not understanding the cultural difference as well, possibly?
For me, and I work with Fabio, and I love Fabio, it takes you a tournament to work out what works and what doesn't work, you know. And I think Fabio said, well, we need to get the players professionally. You know what Fabio's like, stern taskmaster. Yeah. He thought that because he'd have probably done that at AC or wherever he is, that's the right thing to do. Tournament football's not like that. After a long season playing in the Premier League, the players need to come down to a certain element. And I think Gareth went a long way in solving that issue for the England teams.
Would you have liked to play under Southgate?
Yeah, I really would have. Yeah, I'd love it. I've been around it, invited me up a couple of times and kind of see how it was with the players and stuff like that. It was really good, just his whole demeanour. You spoke about Harry Redknapp at the start of this podcast, and it's those man management bits that just win players over, and it gets everyone fully on side as well. And it's those bits, you know, like you said, when you was with the 21s and stuff, we obviously had Chelsea boys in and around that group. They loved it. They loved going away. Yeah. Because you get it, you understand it, you've been there and you've done it. And it's like knowing when to put your foot down and when to kind of pull up and go, okay. And I think you have to be English, to be honest, to understand how the English mentality is as well. And I'm the same as you. I love Fabio. He made me captain. I loved him. I loved how regiment he was and bits like that. But I do think, I remember that year, we were sponsored by Marks and Spencer's at the time.
It's about the suits.
Yes, it's about the suits, yeah. And I remember I asked this, and I wasn't captain at the time, but I still asked the question, can we go in our tracksuits? And it was like, no. And we got off the bus, and Germany got off the bus in their shorts and flip-flops. And we were sweating when we got off. The aircon weren't working on the bus. It was it's little bits like that where you go, just understand, get a feel. You need to be so adaptable as a manager. And yeah, you can have your certain ways and stuff like that where you don't move and you don't kind of bow either way, but you've got to be flexible. Is
that the trick to top level management? I mean, we think back to Sir Alex Ferguson, you mentioned him earlier on, his way or the highway. But his management of Cantona, for example, proved that wasn't the case. He did make exceptions for players, didn't he?
I think all the best managers of the world, whether it be in the sport environment or alternatively in the business environment, they have a level of flexibility as well. They change. You see how issues go. You change depending on who you're talking to. The whole idea of leadership and management is to get the best out of each individual and a collective. It's not one size fits all. And I think all the high flyers are good at that. They know when do we turn the screw? When do we walk past John Terry and not shake his hand and send a message out to John Terry? To do that, they've got to know the animal they're working with. What's his mentality at that stage? His mentality is, I need to get in that team. Works brilliantly. He shakes his hand, all of a sudden, does he think that John relaxes a little bit more? when he needs him back on the football pitch. So, clever management.
You think that as well?
Yeah, I do, but massively. Ancelotti first arrived at Chelsea, in the first meeting, sat down with me, Lamson, Didier and Big Pete, and was like, listen, I'm thinking of training, twice a day. This is what we do in Italy. And straight away we were like, yeah, we don't train twice a day in England. He went, okay, scrap that. What time do you train? What time do you want to train? And it was so refreshing. Now, Carlo was very firm in so many ways, but his man management is probably the best I've experienced in football. And he went, okay, what time? And we normally train at 10 o'clock so we can drop the kids at kind of 8:30 and then still get into training. He was like, okay, 10 o'clock, that's perfect. We'll lock that in. And it was like, wow. But it made such a big difference. He come in, presented to the boys, we're going to train at this, so you can drop your kids on a Sunday. And Jose was good for this. Make sure you give the girls a break and everyone bring the kids in. Recovery, we'll all jump in the pool. We're at Chelsea, winning Premier Leagues. We've got all the kids jumping in, bombing in the pool at the training ground, doing a warm down recovery with the boys. Kids sitting in team meetings with Jose. It was unbelievable. But it just made everyone feel relaxed. But when you're playing Barcelona 2 days before, Jesus Christ, you do not want to cross him or say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing in training because they will absolutely annihilate you.
I think as well, you need a good staff around you as a leader. I found this. I worked with Steve Wigley. He was my assistant at Manchester City.
Good winger, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a good winger and a good coach. He works at Fulham now. And I was offered the under-21 job, so I said to Wiggs, do you want to come and work with me with the under-21s? I said, brilliant. So I walked in, we're playing Spain at Derby in the game, and I walked in, I've got a staff of about 25 facing me, and they're all looking, thinking, shit, what's he going to be like as a manager, And I turned around, I on 12 years as an international, I had a drink on 2 occasions, but I always felt as though, these players are far better than me, especially the opposition, so I have to be more professional than they are. I sat the staff down and I said, I never used to drink on international duty. I don't expect any of you to do so, because I knew there was a culture of let's sit in the bar and whatever, and I'd heard that the players were ferried to nightclubs and all that. I thought, this can't happen. This is England now. Come on. So I said to the staff, we've got to set an example. No one has a drink. And Steve Wigley, the only person I'd walked through the door with, looked at me and went, I'll tell you what, you can F off. If I want a drink at the end of the day, I'm going to have one. So this is my first meeting with the staff, right? He told me to F off. So the rest of them are all there going, yeah, go on, Wiggs, go on. You know what I mean? So I said, is that what you all think as well? And reluctantly, well, yeah, we only sit in there and have 1 or 2 drinks at the end of the day. We've worked a long day and blah, blah, blah. I said, fine, go and have your drink. No trouble at all. If you do, I'll come for you. And they went, fair? And they went, yeah, fine. So straight away, I, as a leader that's trying to walk through a door and set an example, my assistant said, you go off.
It's a fine line, though, isn't it? Because you could have felt undermined.
Of course I could have. Then there's me against him. They're looking, the staff are looking, thinking, where's this going? And all of a sudden, it was a great level. They relaxed, the staff relaxed a little bit and thought, hang on, maybe, all right, he wants things done correctly, but there's flexibility with him as well. We can go to him and talk,
It's also long days for the staff as well. They work their socks off, don't they?
You're
and
right.
They deserve a beer at the end of it. If that's what they want and it is 1 or 2, then fair enough.
Yeah.
And also, he does that as well. Just gets everyone together a little bit.
Brilliant. And that's the beauty of leadership's fine, but put the right people around you to give you guidance as well, because you don't see everything.
Uncomfortable topic, but what does defeat feel like at a World Cup? What's the dressing room like? Because you've got to kind of lift everybody, particularly as a captain, but you're dealing with individuals, proud people who are dejected. What does it feel like?
It's not a good feeling at all. You know that's the end of it. It's the end of your season. It's the end of another tournament. It's the end of 4 years. It's a long time. It's a very long time to wait to the next one, and there's injuries in that. There's form that can get in the way of that as well. So really difficult to take. And some of the quietest dressing rooms I've been around is those defeats in World Cups and Euros, I have to say.
And Stuart?
I've been to 3 major tournaments with England, and they're soulless when you go out. It's as though, you've got a lovely routine going, you're in your team hotel, you're going back to that team hotel and getting very excited for the next round at knockout stage, potentially, or you're boarding a plane and going home the following day or that night, whatever it may be. I've in the 3 tournaments I've been to, 2 of those have been penalty shootouts at semi-final stage. So you can imagine, that mentality of how close you were, how close you could have been. They've been horrific, to be fair. I've only ever been to 1 World Cup, and that was 90. And then we come off the pitch. Bobby Robson's finishing after 8 years at the helm. So, the manager's finishing. You've got that going through your head. What's it? New manager, will he fancy me as a player? Walk in the dressing room. I get pulled out with Schultz for a drugs test. So I've got to leave a dressing room when we're all in tears. I've just missed a penalty in a World Cup semi-final. I go into a room with 2 German players. Schultz walks in. You've got to give a urine sample before you leave.
Who were the German players?
I have no idea, honestly. Schultz walked in the room because he's been taking fluid on as a goalie. He gave a urine sample and left. Myself and 2 German players sat in this room for the best part of 2 hours. No one said a word. I'd just missed a penalty in a semi-final. They're waiting in 3-4 days' time to go and play the World Cup final. They didn't say a word to each other. And I didn't see the significance of that at the time.
Is that exhaustion, maybe?
No. I think that was humility and success. That's what I put it down to. And I thought, wow. When I look back, I thought, what would that have been like with 2 England players and a German player? What would it have been like if Gazza was sat there, you know what I mean? And you think, that's how to be humble in success. And that's something you've got to learn as a leader as well.
Learn to win.
Yeah. You learn to win and win well. And probably 6 years later, when I did score a penalty at Wembley, when everyone jumped on Dave Seaman for saving it, I didn't. I went straight to the Spanish player that missed and straight to the Spanish players because of the lesson I was taught by those 2 German players that day.
Do you have any experiences like that, John?
Yeah, I missed a penalty also in the Champions League final 2008 as well. Worst feeling ever. But it certainly stays with you. There's a lot of highs in my career that I could quite easily reflect on and stuff. And it's often those ones we spoke about, missing out on appearances and goals and opportunities to win trophies. It's those moments, and that moment in particular, I still wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, oh yeah, it did happen. Yeah. If I could have that one moment again, and it's something that kind of, I think, will haunt me forever. But really powerful. But I think, like Stuart said as well, it makes you understand when people do miss in today's football, often reach out to people that are, going through a similar thing as well. So again, I think we have a responsibility as ex-players to kind of, offer, advice and stuff, because it is really difficult. And often, like when I missed that penalty in 2008, 3 days later, we met up with England. We had a friendly at Wembley. I'm sitting across the Man U boys, and I have to say they were all brilliant. Really, really humble in winning, and wasn't rubbing it in or anything. But it was a really tough moment for me.
You talked to me about the experience of defeat. Were you aware of the circumstances around the defeat against Portugal? That basically one teammate, Cristiano Ronaldo, teammate of Wayne Rooney's at club level, he basically, to all intents and purposes, got him sent off, and there was the wing. When did you become aware of that? Probably. Were you conscious of it on the pitch?
No, I didn't know about it on the pitch. I have to say, I was with Carvalho on the pitch and kind of didn't really know what happened. Missed the incident itself as well. Ricky was saying he kind of trod on him and stuff like that. But then we get on the bus after, and Wayne wasn't too happy when he found out about the wink, and tried to approach Ronaldo, I think, and kind of between the buses there was a little bit of toing and froing and stuff. But yeah, I think disappointing more so from Wayne's side of it, because it probably was a sending off, but the Ronaldo wink certainly didn't help that.
Does that sort of gamesmanship go on a lot on international level? Because it's often levelled at England that maybe this current crop of players don't have the devilment to go and win a tournament?
I think they've got devilment, but I think there's a cuteness. I think England players have got a lot more cuter now in game understanding in all elements of it. We keep the ball a lot better, when to slow the game down, and all part of that is as well is game management. If someone's stupid enough to do something that's going to get them sent off that benefits your team, keep encouraging it. That's why I would never, on a football pitch, if one of their players lost his head, I would never get between him and one of my players. I would openly encourage him to go and hit him. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Can I wind things forward all the way to the present day, 2026 World Cup? How do you think England are going to do? Because it seems to me that the teams that eventually cross the line with the World Cup or Euros, they've been knocking on the door for a few years. England certainly fall into that category. Can they do it this year, do you feel? I
think it's a tough ask, if I'm being honest with you. I'd love England to win it. I really would. But I think it's going to be a tough ask. I think the French and Spaniards will be tough to knock over. We need, I think, the draw and the pathway to the final has got to be kind in some ways to us. I think Tuchel's demonstrated over this last year or so that he's been in charge that he can make tough calls, leaving Bellingham out especially, you know, that type of thing, for the betterment of the team on occasion. I think that's what we got to do, and we've probably got to have 2 or 3 players that really come into form and really make the difference. You know, we were probably, when we had a decent run at it, Gazza was a world-class performer. Des Walker was in 1990, like arguably the best in the world. Maybe Dave Seaman was the best goalie in the world in 96. You've got to have a few players in your ranks that actually hit real form. There's great performers in every team. In John's team, you know, you go through it. They're great names. But, I mean, we saw in 2010, Wayne lost his form drastically in 2010. And he's one that he's got to be on song. Same maybe with Harry Kane this time around.
What were your thoughts? I mean, I think the squad is as strong as it's been for a while, isn't it?
The squad is very strong. I really believe we have a chance. I think Harry Kane is vital to that. You just touched on it then. I think keeping him fit and knowing what he needs to tick over and stuff is really important. He's at the back end of his career. It's probably his last one. So a really big opportunity. But I think keeping him fit. What I like about Tuchel, I've seen him around it. He's ruthless. And like you said, leaving Bellingham out is a big call. Bellingham would be in my team every day of the week for me. There seems to be something going on there, but he's not afraid to make those big calls and do what's right for the team. Probably previously we've seen that differently. So I think he's got the balls to go and make those big decisions. I think we have a really, really good squad. I think France and Spain are the favourites, if I'm honest. I think France have a really good chance.
Well, the conditions, the time zones, that kind of thing, will that make a difference, do you think?
Time zone's fine. I think the weather probably more so than anything. I know there's going to be breaks and stuff. Time zone, you adapt as players. You get on with that pretty quickly. The heat side of it certainly won't suit the English for sure.
I think as well, we got to get cute. If I was the FA now, I would be saying we got to get cute on drinks breaks. If there's drinks breaks there, don't see them as drinks breaks, see them as tactical breaks, where we got to get really cute in getting our messages across. And if we need to change, 25 minutes into the game, all of a sudden your game plan might have shifted slightly. You've got to get cute with that as a manager, as a coaching staff. That will be really, really important. And I think it might be a feature of this tournament this time round, that those breaks are tactical breaks. They're not drinks breaks. You just happen to be having a drink while you're being coached almost, So that's really important. And when we talk about this team now, if you said to me, going back to John's period of time, if I could take and go with a back four that was Ashley Cole, him, Rio and Gary Neville, I think all of those, I don't think there's a modern day player playing at the moment will get in front of any of those players. So that defensive side of it, I hope that we're going to be good enough to see the games out on occasion.
You'll have seen the grappling in the penalty area this season, particularly defenders defending set pieces. It's almost like a WWE match in there sometimes. What have you made of that? Did that go on in your era, do you think, or maybe less so?
I think it went on, but it certainly wasn't kind of magnetised as much as it is now with the cameras and the VAR and stuff. Firstly, I'd get rid of VAR instantly for me. I also think goalkeepers are responsible for this as well because they're flapping about. They don't catch anything anymore. For me, it's football. It's physical. I'm not a fan as well of just whipping it in towards the keeper as well. Like back in our day, I scored a lot of set pieces as well. Like put it on the penalty spot and let me get the better of the other centre half or vice versa. Compete in the areas like properly like defenders did back in the day rather than surrounding the goalkeeper, trying to kind of lock him in. And I just disagree with it. I don't like how long it takes. I think it gives the referee an out on the pitch. So you're going to get decisions that some weeks they're given, other weeks they're not, and there's just no consistency. So for me, I'd completely get rid of VAR and take football back to, how it used to be.
Go on, Stuart. What do you think of the grappling?
I think the grappling, in some ways, is a consequence of headings going out the game. The heading protocol, I know as a coach, I keep it to a real minimal. I wouldn't do anywhere near. If I'm working with young kids, I wouldn't ask them to head the ball either way, so that wouldn't happen. So I think it's a consequence potentially of the lack of heading and the art of heading a ball. And I would never coach a defender to hold. I think it's poor coaching and cheap coaching. You always say get touch tight, but touch tight doesn't mean hold.
Because eventually referees are going to clamp down on it, aren't they?
Yeah, a protocol this year. I mean, there's been a big spike with what happened at West Ham. All of a sudden, you bet your bottom dollar, the Referees Association will sit there this summer and say, there's a groundswell with fans that they don't like it, we're going to have to clamp it out. And the start of next season, they'll start giving penalties willy-nilly for everything in the hope that it will stop it totally.
You mentioned Harry Kane, you mentioned Gazza going back a few years. Are there any players that you feel can really make the difference this time for England? Will it be that player who comes into form, for example?
Straight away, I would say Anderson's playing outstandingly well when you need a very good holder, and he's demonstrated that. Declan Rice, can be anything you want him to be, So those two I would pick out. And from a defensive aspect, I think we've got enough talent in the front lines as long as we get the chemistry right. I think in the back lines, Mark Gahey's got to lead the defensive line and be outstanding. O'Reilly looks as though he's first choice at left back for me at this moment in time. So you need them to have really solid World Cups.
John?
Yeah, I think your wingers are going to win you the tournaments and the big competitions. Really? Yeah, for me, you have to be obviously solid defensively, but I think those guys getting those right, I think are really important. We've got really, really good players either side. Saka seems a little bit out of form at the minute. I quite like Anthony Gordon. I'm not sure people are going to look at him and go, but he's so direct and he's really quick.
Young players are fearless as well, aren't they, Stuart?
Yeah, they are, but listen, I have a slightly different mentality. This is my mentality of it, and this is on the back of Theo Walcott. Theo Walcott at major tournaments at all age groups since he was taken in 2006. I looked at this when I was an under-21 manager because my mentality at under-21 level was I would never call a player up from a younger age group unless he's coming straight into the under-21s and playing. Because if I call him up and don't play him, he's missed 90 minutes of experience. So I wouldn't do that. Since Theo got in the 2006 World Cup squad and didn't kick a ball, by the way, what were the implications of that? Well,
mistake?
Massive mistake. He missed an under-21 tournament, I think, that summer, an under-20 tournament, an under-19 tournament, where he could have made the difference and played all the games and picked up silverware for his country. So I think the better experience is playing, my opinion. When I looked at Theo's record in the summer, he's actually played a combined 5.5 matches in his whole career at major tournaments, all age groups. So I'm including the Olympics on that. I am including the under-21 tournaments and everything. 5.5, 90 minutes. That's poor.
Well, you spoke about you were 20 games in and you were nervous still.
Yeah,
exactly that. Just goes to show you that, doesn't it, as well?
But we've got players now that can step out for England, having won European medals, having won world medals at younger age groups. And I think that's what we've got to do. I think that's why we're getting to the latter stages now, because we've put that in place beforehand.
Just to wrap up then, I want to put you both on the spot. You're probably, I don't know if you're going to go for England or not, but who do you think is going to go all the way in the World Cup this summer?
I'm going to go France, me.
I'll have to go Spain if John's going France.
Confident in both of those, do you think? Or you're not just saying it because he's gone for France?
No, I'm definitely not confident because I want England to win it. So I think between those two, one of them will at least be in the final. And it depends what route they take, whether you come across each other or not.
I also think we have a chance as well. I'm not kind of ruling us out. We have as good a chance as anyone. Like you said, Stu, as well. You need a little bit of luck in these tournaments and stuff and things to go your way.
Listen, thanks to both of you for giving me your experiences of your World Cups and Euros, etc. It's been great to have you both.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of The Green Room. We'll see you next time.